story's coming fast and strong. From the map to your front door, what matters most, we bring you more. Stay with us, stay in the loop. Straight talk, clear view, one place for the story, one voice for the truth. Patriot Nation News, PNN, we bring it through. Patriot Nation News, what you need right now for you. Patriot Nation News, hear it loud, clean and true. PNN, PNN, Patriot Nation News. Voices rise, the facts roll in. Every angle, every win. City halls and highway miles. Real lives, real news, real time. Stay with us, stay in the loop. Straight talk, clear view, one place for the story, one voice for the truth. Patriot Nation News, PNN, we bring it through. Patriot Nation News, what you need right now for you. Patriot Nation News, hear it loud, clean and true. PNN, PNN, Patriot Nation News. When the day gets loud, we cut through the crowd. When the feed runs wild, we keep it straight and style. Patriot Nation News, PNN, we bring it through. Patriot Nation News, what you need right now for you. Patriot Nation News, hear it loud, clean and true. PNN, PNN, Patriot Nation News. Patriot Nation News. See you next time. Go.
All right. It's good to be here. Patriot Nation News. And get that closed down. Good evening on this Monday, May 18th. A little later. Our intention is to be on around 9 every night, but tonight was pushed. We were at graduation. And so that took a little while. So we're late getting in. We had a couple of things we had to get done. So we are going to get the news in. We'll get the major parts and we'll pick it up again tomorrow night. And hopefully we'll move on to sports here before we go to bed. There's a lot going on, obviously, with many different things. I wanted to start with the redistricting just a little bit. The ruling by the Supreme Court, which is just driven, it has absolutely driven a lot of liberals and Democrats. They're just over the edge right now, and they're going into cities. And honestly, I think we're having we're having problems with one of the streams. Which one am I having trouble with? Oh, that is the Substack. Not good. I noticed it was having a little problem, so we may just take that off and we may try to do it over. And if we can, then we'll take it out and remove it and then go back. So that stuff happens, it does happen. But I noticed that one of the things I noticed was I understand the anger, and I don't know if you saw it, but we definitely saw a senator in Tennessee crying on the air in an interview on another liberal news network. I was going to show a video. I didn't have it pulled up tonight, but he was actually crying. That's Senator. Good morning, Greg, or good evening. Good evening, Greg. Not morning, evening. He was breaking down and crying. I mean, come on. You know, I mean, whether they're pulling out all the stops. I mean, dude, if you can't handle that without crying, get out. I mean, um, I don't think that was because he was crying over democracy. I think he was crying over what he's losing. But there's been all these things have been going on for some time, and you know, so this was Ford near Memphis, and he was you know balling over the thing. I have not seen that before like that. And I mean, if you haven't seen that video, I was going to show it, but if you haven't seen it, you know, go pull that in. I'm going to reset the Substack. So if you'll bear with me just a second, I want to make sure we've got the right thing pulled up here. So, you know, things happen. You know, things happen. So we're just gonna do that, and we'll just do this. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Give me 1 second. All right. There we go. All right. Let's see if we can wrangle this thing back in. Good old cowboy term. This has been one of those weeks where you just see it so much. It's been one little thing after another. I think sometimes I wonder if they're not messing with us. You know, I have in streams been shut down before and talking about controversial things, and it just makes you wonder sometimes. You know who's pushing buttons on the other end. That's for sure. All right, we're getting back up. If you don't come up this time, it's just not going to be there. But it's good. Hello, Beverly, boss. How are you doing? I haven't talked to you in a while. And I don't know if you knew my wife passed away. I don't know how far that got out there. It's been a little bit since I talked to you. 3 weeks yesterday, my wife passed away. But good evening. But yes, Ford out of Memphis, he was bawling at the prospect of losing his seat. Are you kidding me? Losing his seat. Absolutely embarrassing for a leader to be like that. I mean, he's just, you know, bawling on screen. I mean, over the job. I mean, you know, come on. He looks like he needs to retire anyway. But it's just crazy, just bawling away. Unbelievable that we have leaders like that. Then we've got other leaders like, you know, leaders that should be leaders. They're not acting like leaders. And they're going into cities. And to me, they're really close to inciting the riot. I mean, they are. I'm doing okay, Beverly. You know, I don't know, what do you do? I mean, you just have to push on. You know, it's some days are good, some days are not. It's usually not a whole day. It's usually moments in time. You know, it's still too new, and we've been so busy trying to wrap up everything with the funeral and um, take care of things afterwards. And I've had a lot of help, and I appreciate it. I got my granddaughter, and of course, we had her. She was graduating tonight from middle school to high school. You know, we'll be going to high school, and so you know, it's a blessing. But then there's that part of you, you know, it's like she's not there, and we worked so hard, you know, to see her grow up and do these things. And I had some friends there, you know, they were giving us a hug in her neck and, you know, saying they were so sorry and praying for us if there's anything they could do. Just call, they'd be there. That's kind of people. I have some great people in my life, and I'm thankful for it. So yeah, I don't. It's just an empty feeling that doesn't go away. There's nobody to share anything with except nobody like your spouse. I mean, you can't. You know, you share things in a kid way with your kids, and a grandfather kind of way with your grandkids, friend way and a friend. Uh, there's nobody you share with like you do your spouse, and so it's just an empty feeling, and that um, it just ain't gonna be the same. I'll just find ways to adapt to it, and with time and prayer, and move on as best we can. So thanks, though. You know, just pray for us. I mean, it's you know, life don't slow down. It just keeps hammering, and I don't want to get ran over in that wake. So you know, just push forward. I did take a little break from the podcast for a few days, but you know, we worked hard to get the podcast, and now it's called Wolf Nation Network. We still have the Southern Patriots and all that's all under the umbrella of Wolf Nation Network. But my wife worked so hard behind the scenes. I'd be doing her a disservice if I didn't keep going. So I have great crew that keeps me, you know, takes on a lot of the load. They do a lot of stuff, and it really makes it easier, so much easier to continue going. So yeah, the redistricting and again the elections or the primaries tomorrow. I've already voted. We will be doing a special election night tomorrow night. I always do that. So I may even kick it up and start it a little earlier. I have a 5 o'clock that I've got to do with, we're working on advancing things. I'm doing a lot of research with different companies that will help us get there and what the cost is going to be, benefits, pros, cons, all that. I have a 5 to 5:30 tomorrow. I'm thinking around 7, right about the time those polls close. I'd like to go in and start talking about them. And around 7:30, 8 o'clock, those numbers should really be coming in on the East Coast anyway. So the PNN News tomorrow night will be election coverage. I love that. I'm not helping with elections right now because I took a break because of my wife. So I'm debating whether to come back in November. I do want to go back, or to wait till the beginning of the new year. I'm not real sure. I'm just taking right now. I'm just taking it one day at a time. I love that though. I love working. I've missed them. I've missed my team. I miss being a part of it. I feel so disconnected because I was, working. I didn't work every day, but I worked, some early voting, and then I always would work election day. So tomorrow, I'd be at 5:30. I'd be at the precinct, getting ready to roll in about 10:30 back to home. But I love it. Yeah, StreamYard is just not. Substack is just not going to work tonight. That's okay. To heck with you. Yeah. Other than that, it was Instagram. So we'll load this up there after the fact. But yeah, I just I love elections, even though sometimes we don't get what we want, but we just trust in God. And I always say if whatever's meant to be is meant to be, because the Lord will bring it to pass. But with the news, we'll be looking at that, and I'm excited about it. I want to move quickly to because I don't have a lot of time, because I know it's getting late. I'm not rushing off, but I'm going to be a little bit more succinct with and precise with things. The information with Iran, I really felt like the president was coming out of China with some sort of an agreement, and a lot of people, the voices have gotten a lot louder today. Um, it I was reading your comments. Death is the only instant moment when the spirit leaves the earthly body. She's alive, for the spirit never dies. Amen. We mourn because we can't see them. Oh yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I know where she's at. And I'm glad she's not hurting. And God answered so many prayers in that. I've mentioned many times, my wife never went to nursing home, and she never gasped for breath. I had 2 prayers and before she ever got to those 2 points, I asked God to take her. That's exactly what he did. Exactly. So it hurts. I wouldn't bring her back for nothing, because she had some problems, a lot of problems in the last days. The last few weeks have been hard. But thank you for the kind words. I concur 100%. I didn't want to slip here before we dive into Iran, because I want to get there. We're going to be having a special show as part of a docu-series with the PNN. I want to talk about organ donation. This is something that's really jumped on my. I think it escalated one because my wife died, and phone call I got, and then I've been really mulling this over in the last 3-4 weeks. 3 weeks. It was on the 26th. 3 weeks, whatever. I've had a lot of thoughts about organ donation and organ harvesting and what's going on with that. And then I read an article today. Anyway, we're going to be having a show within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't want to rush it, but I don't want to wait too long. And I'm hoping to get some people in to talk about it, pro and con. And Biscuit Boy will be helping me with that. But we're gonna have a show dedicated to that, and it might be a series of things where we tackle it from one area and then we move and look at it from another area, because it's really too much to put into one show. I will start it. I'm going to start it by saying where I'm at. I have shifted my opinion, and I will reveal that and the reasons for it at the beginning of the show, the PNN show. For that, be looking for that. We'll make announcements for it. If you'd like to come and make comments about it or something. And this is not meant to sway anybody or nothing. It's just something I want to put some information out there. Back to Iran. I really felt like the president came away, as I said, with an agreement over Iran, with China. And of course, they were dancing a fine dance because, they're wanting Taiwan bad. but I do believe he got some leeway to do what he needed to do there without any interference. Not he was looking for that, but I think they got a loose agreement on that. We already seen that they've agreed that they shouldn't, from what we've read, shouldn't have the nuclear material. Um, the president was ready, and they were amping up, and I really felt like and this has happened like 3 times, that we were fixing to lay into Iran again, and then he puts the brakes on again and says they are close to an agreement. Well, the leader of Iran has put this message out that he has told all of his leaders, it's discombobulated. This guy's injured. And there's a lot of people trying to vie for position, and he's basically telling them to keep their mouth shut. Don't say too much. We're not going to go down as cowards, but we don't have the ability to do what you're. Basically, they're running their mouth with no way to back it up. Not enough. So I really felt like they were fixing to hit him. So the president puts a halt on it. Tonight, General Kellogg, Keith Kellogg, U.S. Army Lieutenant General retired, he said, this is a lead article in Newsmax, and there's some other voices out there. I read one this morning. He said that the president should suspend negotiations with Iran and instead more aggressively choke off Tehran's economy by seizing strategic locations, including Karg Island. Quote, I cannot believe how reasonable he's been in this whole process and how measured he's been, Clark told Rob Schmidt tonight. Now, a lot of people have been coming, even in my show and other shows, and say people have said he's broken his promise. He's putting Americans out there. He's putting them in harm's way, starting wars and whatever. But he hasn't put ground troops in. He has been. We have hit them hard from the air in many different things in conjunction with Israel, yes, but he has not lowered the boom now in weeks. I mean, it's been a little bit, and has been encouraging them and listening to others, let negotiations take their place. He has been measured in that way. He did call it off, and he said there was still a good chance the deal could be reached, despite them rejecting the latest nuclear proposal and describing it as, quote, inadequate. The Iranian proposal included broader language pledging not to pursue a nuclear weapon, but did not contain specific commitments to halt uranium enrichment or surrender existing stockpiles of highly enriched uranium. The president seemed to be shifting that he was okay with a little bit, them having a little bit of nuclear power or something. That would seem to be floated out there. And I think it was, let's see where this goes. Let's see how people feel about it. He argued the administration should stop negotiations altogether. Quote, what I am saying is I think we should break negotiations off. This is what General Kellogg said. We should seize Karg Island for a couple of reasons. One, it controls 90% of their economy. I will agree with this, that if I thought we were going to take over anything, it would be that, because I knew it would be a chokehold for the Iranians. That would be the strategic. It does expose us to some things, but I think we have enough firepower that it wouldn't be that big a deal. And they don't want to blow up their own stuff anyway. He said 90% of their economy, you put the whole country at risk, especially the leadership. Karg Island handles most of Iran's crude oil exports and is widely viewed as economically vital to the regime. He also called for U.S. forces to take Larak Island, L-A-R-A-K, Larak Island, which he described as Iran's command and control position near the Strait of Hormuz. Now, there was some talk of even information being sent to the UAE that they should do it. Get them involved. That was floated out there. He says you take Larak Island, which is your command and control hub for the Strait, you put your Marines in there. Now, that's a whole new level of stuff. But anyway, that's what the general said. He said the U.S. Navy should then position minesweepers to keep shipping lanes open. Quote, you line up your Avenger-class minesweepers and you escort everybody out of the Gulf on the Omani side. I have wondered, I will agree with the general on this, I cannot believe we not have some kind of a flow structure here, that we have let them be able to do that. Yeah, they can lay mines, but if we're continuing to have things with radar and things that we can do, I mean, they can still do them with speedboats, but it's very dangerous. I mean, it's slower, a faster, smaller type boat that they could do that with, but we just continue to light them up, and they're going to start running out of the ability to do that. We've already sunk, what was it, over 100 ships or something? I mean, different sizes. The general warned against trusting Iranian officials during negotiations, specifically mentioning Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. I don't trust the Iranians, the Revolutionary Guards at all. We're falling right into Arachi, the playbook that he set out. Kellogg argued that targeting Iran's economic survival would be more effective than solely eliminating military leaders. That's the reason I said you go after a place like Clark Island, you take away their economy, you put them at risk, you strangle them. He asked how long a strategy would take to weaken the regime. He believed the pressure could produce results relatively quickly. I don't think it takes years. It may not even take months. He also endorsed regime change, openly endorsed regime change in Tehran. Does it mean regime change? Yeah, because you cannot deal with theocratic government. These guys are thugs. The U.S. should make clear negotiations. Make clear negotiations are no longer the priority. You basically say, you have my number, give me a call when you want to talk. But you put everything they own at risk right now. So this is the most profound statements that I have seen on this to date. It is, and there, of course, Lindsey Graham has been out there saying, let's go after them. Let's take them out. He wants war. I mean, that's Lindsey, but he is on that. He's always on that pro-war side, pro-military action, whatever. So we'll see. But that's pretty shocking. I mean, here the president and the administration is similarly giving diplomacy a lot of time. He always says, we're ready at a moment's notice. We've told them to stand down. We're ready to go. I've asked the military to be ready to go at a moment's notice. So we'll see. Senator Graham urges caution on the Iran deal. On his social media on X, he said any agreement with Tehran would need congressional approval and warned that Iran has historically resisted the kind of sweeping concessions now being demanded by the Trump administration. Now, you got people all over this thing. Some would say this is what we've been needing for 47 years. Other mad, he said the president should have never taken these actions. He's bypassed Congress. And you got a whole bunch of people in the middle that are slow of flowing back and forth on how they feel about this thing. So you got the hardliners, whether it's the right thing or they do the wrong thing. And you got a lot of people in the middle that say, well, I trust the president. He feels like we need to. We've had trouble with him. Let's do it. And then you got others that think he is leading us into, World War III. He said any agreement reached between the United States and Iran must come before Congress for approval, as was the case with the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action under President Barack Obama. Quote, if we can end the conflict through diplomatic means that achieve our national security objectives, that would be a major accomplishment. But he outlined what he described as Trump's non-negotiable conditions for any agreement with Iran, including, quote, unquote, no enrichment. American control of the approximately 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium and guaranteed access to the Strait of Hormuz without interference from Iran. I would put in there where the word free. This country should not be allowed to charge passage in an international shipping lane. And I don't care who the country is. I don't care if it's Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Yemen. I don't give a crap. It's an international shipping lane. They don't have a right to do that. Some said, well, it would help rebuild the country. No, you don't get to charge money for being a thug and making threats. He also said, this is Senator Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, quote, that Iran, quote, must abandon its long-range ballistic missile program in any effort to develop a nuclear weapon and must end its support for all terrorist proxies in the region. I don't disagree with that. I just think he believes it will never happen, and so he would be for war at that point, or, just annihilating them. He made clear he doubts, in fact, that they will ultimately accept those terms. But to say I'm skeptical that Iran will actually agree to these things necessary to make the deal substantially different than the JCPOA or entering a new deal with, that will withstand the test of time is an understatement. Time will tell. Trump said on Monday he planned to pause a planned military operation against Iran after appeals from key Middle Eastern allies who said negotiations were making progress. Of course, the president in his own Truth Social network had this to say today. Matter of fact, let me see if we can just put this one on the screen. This is from his Truth. Might be a little small, but there it is. I've been asked by the Emir of Qatar Tamim bin Ahmad Al Thani, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, and the President of the United Arab Emirates (UAE), Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, to hold off on our planned military attack of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which was scheduled for tomorrow, and that would have been Tuesday, obviously, in that serious negotiations are now taking place, and that, in their opinion, as great leaders and allies, a deal will be made, which will be very acceptable, to the United States of America, as well as to all countries in the Middle East and beyond. This deal will include, importantly, and in capital letters, you can see it there if you can, no nuclear weapons for Iran. Right there in that paragraph. Based on my respect for the above mentioned leaders, I've instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Daniel Kane, they call him Raising Kane, and the United States military that we will not be doing the scheduled attack of Iran tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward, with a full, large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So the news has definitely shifted up in this area. And also what's shifting up is higher gas prices. Now, is it, it's not $10 a gallon, but it is shifting up. And I know people who are paying closer to $5. It is, in my area, it is bumping right around the $4 mark. It is just below that. I saw some today that was 380 or 380 something. We're getting closer and closer to the $4 a gallon. It is having an effect. I mean, it takes more to. I've been trying to keep the car full, and it takes more to. I try to top it off sooner, so it doesn't seem like that much. But where I was putting $20 in my little Jeep Renegade, and that didn't fill it up, but it was put it up 3/4 of the tank. I think now it takes $35, I think, or so to do the same thing. So it is having an effect from where we were to where we are now. And people are struggling. There is a lot of struggle going on across the world, even for fertilizers, all those goods and services that be coming through the strait. I mean, things are getting to critical mass in a lot of ways, and I think it will hurt other countries, massively before it hurts us. Europe's getting antsy. They got a lot of problems over there, and they like to put their nose over into our business, but they haven't stood up, and that doesn't seem like they're anxious to get involved in some way. But it is definitely going to cripple some countries in a lot of ways. They're going to suffer, and the people will suffer big time the more and longer this goes on. And of course, Iran, that's the only card they have to play. That is absolutely it. For certain, they've been waiting for the midterms. They want to see if the president's teeth are pulled on this. There's no deal coming tonight. I would find it hard pressed to believe. They want to see what happens with these midterms. It gives them hope that maybe if they could just keep pressing and finding ways to push it out to a new leader, if they feel like a new leader would, because that's the problem we always have, is they'll play the waiting game, the time game, and do just enough to keep us from attacking, saying the right things, putting the right feelers out there, and waiting on, so hopefully some help from Congress to rein the president and make him move out. That's the only card I see that they have to play. They really do not have the ability to fully control. I think that's misleading when they say that. The press loves to say that, but there are some ships that's went through. There are ways they can do that. I just think it should have been a lot more. Some reports have said they rebuilt a lot of their missile launching capabilities. And drone capabilities have been, the stockpiles are still very much there. In fact, increased. I find that hard to believe, but I'm sure they've got them working day and night trying to increase because that's all they have to fire with. I mean, they have no ships. They have these little speed boats. They don't have any ships really, no Air Force. So what they have is their mouths. They have some missiles. They had a lot of those. I think they used a lot of them, but they still have a lot. And drones. And, word is that they're using the more advanced drones from Russia with the fiber optic cables that they can push out there for several miles. And it's really hard, if not impossible, to jam those drones. So, they're killer seekers that can be hard to knock down. And they've been using that to hit energy places in other countries that involve energy. and has been able to do some damage with some of that. So, you know, I don't know where this goes, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And we will see on that note what the new day brings since he has done that. Um, More in the GOP and other headliners signaling backing limits on the Iran war. Uh, Trump, Iran wants deal more than ever. IEA warns oil inventories rapidly depleting. This is the International Energy Agency. Fatih Barol, he is the head. He said Monday the oil inventories were depleting rapidly with only a few weeks' worth left due to the Iran war and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz to shipping. He is participating in the group of 7 finance leaders meeting in Paris. He told reporters that the release of strategic oil reserves had added 2.5 million barrels of oil per day to the market, but said those reserves are not endless. The onset of the spring planting and summer travel seasons in the northern hemisphere will drain inventories more quickly as demand for diesel, fertilizer, jet fuel, and gasoline increases. Asked about his comments in the G7 meeting, he said he described a perception gap in the markets between the physical markets and the financial markets for oil. So you can see they're getting anxious, getting antsy. They want something done. That's the kind of thing that the Iranians are waiting for. War fuels inflation fears as global bond yields surge. This article by Theodore Bunker. Government bond yields across major economics surged recently to their highest levels in decades as investors reacted to escalating tensions tied to the war in Iran and mounting fears that inflation could remain elevated for years. Yields on 10-year and longer government debt across the group of 7 nations are approaching 5%, their highest levels since 2004, according to a note published Sunday by Apollo Global Management chief economist Torsten Slok. In the United States, the 30-year Treasury yield closed Friday at 5.2%, its highest level since July 2007. The sell-off in bonds accelerated after the president, Chinese President Xi, in Beijing, where investors had hoped China would help broker a diplomatic breakthrough to ease the conflict and reduce pressure on global energy markets. Instead, concerns deepened that disruption, tied to the Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping route for global oil companies. Global bond markets fell as investors demand higher returns to hold long-term government debt amid fears that central banks may be unable to cut interest rates as aggressively as previously expected. Slock wrote that investors are demanding higher premiums for government debt, quote, amid deglobalization and increased geopolitical fragmentation, end quote. Rates will stay higher for longer, and investors should plan accordingly. So from the financial markets, and there's much more there, but you can see the ANSI that is going on. Shortages hit Asia as Europe face shock soon. Robert Papp, the University of Chicago professor who studies politics and war, argues that the Iran war has moved beyond a temporary oil price shock and is entering a far more dangerous phase, synchronized global shortages leading to economic contraction. His central thesis is that governments and markets mistakenly assumed the conflict and the closure of the strait would be brief. I think many did. I think that's a good point. Instead, as the war drags on, the world's emergency buffers, inventories, strategic reserves, subsidies, and supply chain workarounds are beginning to fail simultaneously. They're bleeding over there, no doubt. He explained that earlier economic forecasts from institutions like the IMF underestimated the crisis because they assumed Hormuz would reopen within weeks or a few months. Under that scenario, temporary disruptions could be absorbed through stockpiles and emergency reserves. But if the blockade lasts 6 months or longer, the world economy faces structural shortages that cannot easily be replaced. Around 15 million barrels of oil per day have effectively been removed from global supply because of the blockade and regional instability. No modern industrial economy can absorb such a sustained deficit indefinitely, he argued in his recent Substack column. He outlines major shortages situations by countries. India delayed maintenance on approximately 10,000 megawatts of power generation capacity due to unstable fuel conditions. Textile mills are implementing rolling shutdowns because of soaring energy costs and tightening coal supplies. Fertilizer production is falling sharply as liquefied natural gas shortages reduced ammonia availability, and India's industrial base is increasingly vulnerable to prolonged energy disruption. Pakistan. Government officials have warned that commercial fuel reserves are approaching dangerous levels. Rising fuel insecurity threatens transportation, electricity generation, and industrial operations. Pakistan faces heightened political instability if shortages worsen. Yeah, always. The people could go crazy. Bangladesh. Severe electricity instability tied to imported uh, gas shortages. Industrial production and urban electricity reliability are deteriorating as fuel imports tighten. The country remains highly exposed because of its dependence on imported energy. Vietnam. Airlines have already reduced portions of flight schedules due to the tightening jet fuel supplies. Export manufacturing could suffer if broader fuel shortages spread throughout Southeast Asia. Logistics and transportation systems are becoming strained. South Korea. Pape warned refiners may soon reduce output by 10 to 15% if shortages intensify. South Korea's export-driven industrial economy is highly sensitive to fuel disruptions and shipping instability. It's having an effect all across the world. Germany. Industrial firms are warning about renewed energy stress. Chemical plants, steel production, machinery, automotive manufacturing, and glass industries remain highly vulnerable to these shortages. Fertilizer producers continue operating below pre-war capacity levels. Netherlands. Gas and chemical sectors remain exposed to rising gas prices. Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Antwerp. Jet fuel inventories are tightening toward historically dangerous levels. Transportation industrial factors or sectors are also strained. The United States, this is PAP, he has said this, America faces what he calls a diesel time bomb. First time I've read this. Diesel inventories on the East Coast have fallen to the lowest levels since the late 1990s. Diesel refining margins are surging because global refining capacity cannot compensate for lost Gulf supply. Agriculture, trucking, rail freight, construction, and food distribution are all highly dependent on diesel fuel. He warned that diesel could exceed $6 per gallon nationally. Wouldn't surprise me at all. It already runs traditionally pretty high, driving inflation, higher food prices, and economic slowdown simultaneously. China, the last one we'll look at. China is the one major exception because it entered the crisis with approximately 1.39 billion barrels in strategic reserve. Beijing has continued receiving limited Iranian oil shipments through covert channels using ships with disabled tracking systems. Chinese imports are down significantly, but massive reserves and centralized state controls provide temporary insulation. And lastly, he argues that China can likely withstand the crisis longer than Western economies, which explain Beijing's reluctance to pressure Iran into reopening Hormuz. So we can see that. In Europe, they may experience rising natural gas prices, industrial shutdowns, airline route cancellations, reduced fertilizer production, renewed inflation combined with economic downturn. He argues, this is PAP again, that the world has transitioned from a price shock into a physical shortage phase. The next stage, if Hormuz remains blocked, will be synchronized global contraction. Governments will increasingly intervene through fuel rationing, export controls, emergency subsidies, diesel allocation programs, and anti-price gouging measures. He warns that within the next 10 to 30 days, several indicators will determine whether the crisis accelerates dramatically. Now, that's not to say all that will happen, but it is a possibility. And so it looks as though, this is going to get people really, they're nervous about it. Certainly those in the financial world and things like that. So I think that's interesting when you look at how it's affecting all those countries. We already knew a lot of that was going to happen, but how long do we have? How long can the president hold out on keeping the hold on over there and keeping the military there and continue to dance around this? Greg, when BlackRock, Vanguard, and State street says they've made enough money and killed enough people, that's when the global war will come until they decide to begin once more. I mean, we just need a few more weeks. Well, it looks as though within, the originally the thing was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks, but now it looks like what he's describing is a 4 to 6 week, some sort of, it probably would happen in Europe first and Southeast Asia, but would sweep this way. And by the way, I already had updated from Australia, and Australia's got major issues as well. The Netherlands is another one that I covered a couple of weeks ago. They were already talking about the shortage on fertilizer, not enough food being produced, and the prices soaring, and food, food reductions, higher prices, so that food security was even a bigger problem. Thank you, Jake, for liking and sharing. How am I doing today? Doing pretty good, man. I went to my granddaughter's graduation from. It's kind of it's not. I don't call it graduation. It's a whatever it is, a transfer. It's not the word, but to high school. So we were at that. So appreciate you dropping in and saying, hey, we're going to have to get off here in a few minutes. I was trying to get as much as I could in about this. I think it's a big deal. Like I said, tomorrow night we will be looking at the elections as well as also other news. Also today, the president, it was announced that they were going to expand Trump RX with some 600 generic drugs. That's a pretty big deal. I don't know if it involves the ones I take, or something to that effect or not, which I get a great deal on mine. But this will help others who do not have that ability. I don't pay anything for the 2 medications I take. I'm blessed. But I'm in a program. Let's see here. Is there anything else I want to tackle tonight? If not, we will stop right there. I think it'll be this will tomorrow, with all that's going on in the world and with all that we're involved with. I think these primaries, it's not the general election, but it's going to be interesting to see who gets out of that. This has been the most intensive time that I've ever seen in politics in my area. The money that is being spent on several races is more than I've ever seen in flyers, phone calls. It's everywhere. And it has turned ugly. There's a lot of ugly politics. I've not seen it to this level before. They're full on going after each other by the throat. And so we'll see who comes out of this tomorrow and then moves towards the general. And we'll have lots to talk about, I'm sure. So the Democrats will continue to go out and stir people up that their rights are being taken. They'll make it like a plant. They're all using phrases like plantation, denying rights and all these things, and they're misrepresenting what they're saying, and people are getting stirred up and fired up, and they better be careful. You get out there and you say those things in the wrong way, you could cause violence in the streets, which is probably what some of them want, to be honest. They want this thing disrupted, so they've labeled the president a Nazi and said he hates you, he's taking away your rights, and sadly a lot of people fall for that. That he is racist and against people. He always gets clear of all that, but it is doing damage. It is doing damage in the polls, I believe. This race in Georgia is it's going to be interesting. Can Burt Jones survive the wealth, power, and backing to Jackson? I don't know. He was running points behind, so the rich man may come in, and some are likening him to President Trump. I disagree. I don't care for him, but he is throwing the money around left and right. He's got it to push in, and I believe there's other people helping him as well. He who spends the most and demoralizes the most will win an election. That's true. And right now, that is full on. I fully expect one of the representatives in my area, I fully think he's going to lose this primary. There's some local stuff going on that has hurt him there. And I know the person that's going to probably win in the primary here. I had him scheduled to come in another race. He had to back out. It's been really busy in my life with the funeral and everything. once the primaries are over, I'm going to reach out to him. And he'd already agreed to come in and be live in studio. And I won't say that name just yet because I don't want to put it on the spot. But I definitely want to. It's a tough race. So we got these, we got the race, for governor, lieutenant governor. We've got local races and senators that obviously will be serving. We had the special election for which Clay Fuller won, but then there's, they have to run again against that the other primary because that was just for the rest of that term. She really stepped down at a really most inopportune time. She just should have held on, my opinion. But a lot of Marjorie Taylor Greene I'm speaking about, that race has been another one that's been hot and heavy in the region. So tomorrow we'll work. When I get home, I have a 30-minute talk about and just looking for the right partner to work with that's going to take us to even higher levels and help us pull everything together in a way that we want to. And then I'm going to be looking to come on about 7 right at the time the polls close on the East Coast. And we'll tackle it from there. So until then, we'll say goodnight. We got to get some rest. And we may do a quick sports show. I'll decide here in a second. But we will see in the morning. First light at 5:30 will be on, focusing on temptation for this episode. And then we'll have our Cornbread Man morning show at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Got to be out by 7. Got a meeting at 7:45, so I got to move pretty quick. Have a great night. God bless. God bless you. God bless America. Look for some new programming, some programming to be brought back that we had put on the shelf. We're going to have some stuff at Substack that's only going to be behind the paywall. We got new. I'm going to bring back my America First show, and we're going to be doing some documentaries and some different things. So there's a lot. There's a lot on the table. New shows though. Got some new shows, and we'll get you up with that. Hey, Greg, have a blessed night. Jake, Miss Beverly, if you're still floating around out there, God bless you. I know you work hard. We appreciate you, your kindness and your encouragement from all of you. And we'll keep pressing on. I do miss my wife. And it is said at the bottom of the scroll, all shows are dedicated to my wife. And in honor of it, she did so much to help me with this in so many ways. While my ugly face was on the air, she was out going and doing things for me to make sure things moved and changed until she couldn't do it anymore. And then I just had to trim back and take care of her because it was a lot of work for several of us. And that's what we're here for in marriages and families. And there's so many people going through stuff like that. God bless all the kids that are doing so well and graduating. And I'm gonna do my best to sleep well. I did last night. My granddaughter asked me, said, "Did you sleep good last night?" I said, "I slept good. My back didn't hurt. I still need to lose some weight, but I'm doing good. Thank y'all. God bless. We'll get out of here. Throw the music up, and we'll see you on the flip side."